Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's Ben Capozzi with Broad Shoulders Farm in beautiful Halifax County, Virginia, Zone 7. Today is Sunday, April 3rd, and I have been out last night and this morning just doing a little bit of planting and cleaning up here in one of the paddocks for our orchard rotation for the poultry. This is the May and September paddock, and I'll flip the camera around and talk a little bit about what I've been doing in here, adding some herbaceous perennials, some seedling trees, and transplanting some elderberry cuttings. So let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what's what. What are you doing out of the rooster, Ryan? Huh? How'd you get over here? Can't tell if that's flash. Sorry, not flash, but I don't know if that's thunder or lightning. I think that's lightning based on his leg color. Hey, buddy. But anyhow, let me get up off the ground here. Okay, so this is one of the paddocks, part of our rotational grazing system as I run the poultry through the orchard. And this section is for May and September. So if you're familiar with our system, just real quick, over on the other side of the rooster run are two paddocks, as well as winter quarters. The birds spin winter quarters. January and February are two coldest months in winter quarters. Then they come out and they go into the March paddock, and then the April paddock, and then the May paddock, and then the June paddock, which wraps around the house here, and then they go back to July, August, September, where we are, October, back to November, December, and then they go into winter quarters. So that's the rotation. So everything in each paddock is designed, well, for the most part, things in each paddock are designed to be harvestable or ripen during the month that the birds are in there. Each paddock is more than 6,000 square feet, so it's plenty of space for them to be there for 30 days, 100 birds or less. And so I was in here yesterday mowing. I can't believe it's already time to start mowing, but I was out here with the push mower and I mowed just to kind of clean things up so that you can again start to see the shape of, well, what's a lane to walk through and what's a row. And I also did some transplanting of some root suckers from the wild elderberry patch down there, which we'll go down and see. But I actually took these to market yesterday at the farmer's market, and these are some of the leftovers. They have really big, beautiful root systems, like that big, I would say. So they should be fine. They've been soaking in water. I think we're supposed to get rain tomorrow or Tuesday, so they should be just fine. But I'm really grateful to have this patch of wild elderberries because they grow so fast and they grow with such minimal care. It's a really nice way to establish some canopy, some structure, some shade for the birds. This is, I would say, their most brutal pasture in terms of there's not a lot of cover. The sun comes up over here in the east, and south is due that way. So the sun comes up and it's kind of shaded over the trees, and then once it's over the tree line here, it's pretty much sunny in here till way late in the day when they start to catch some shade from the mulberry tree that will leaf out. And that mulberry tree is coming down, so it's going to be even more stark and harsh in here. They do have their chickshaw to go into, and they do like going into the wild patch of elderberries back there because it provides lots of shade. But that's pretty much it during this establishment phase. And I can bring some shade shelters out here for them. But what I have noticed in previous years and them being in here is that they really stay over there. They don't come out this way. So getting some shade cover established out here is great. So there's 1, 2, 3 elders set up. There's a Damson plum tree right there that I'm waiting to see if it's going to leaf out or not. According to a scratch test, it's not dead, but you never know with those root trees that you get from Tractor Supply. Every year I promise myself I'm not going to buy any, and then spring rolls around and I'm just so tempted and I still buy some. But here's a nice Methley plum that I've got getting set up here in this row. There's 3 rows. This row is almost, except for that plum, is all elder. and it's elder cuttings. When we get closer, I'll show you what that means, as opposed to root suckers that I cut off. It's actual just cuttings, which you've seen in my other videos. This row are the not the feature trees, the main producing trees. So this is a mixed row of apple and persimmon and pear. Started off though with this plum. I have less persimmon in here than I thought. I had a nice Ways Fuyu pear right there, but checking through the orchard yesterday, it didn't make it over the winter. It's dead as a doornail, and there are quite a few that didn't quite make it. Well, there's 4. It's a handful. And then there is another row down here, and this row is mostly there's like 2 proc persimmons. I just put in 4 seedling persimmons. There's a few elderberry cuttings. There's a root sucker that I dug up and transplanted from a black locust just to get some flowers over here. And then there's one more elder sucker that I planted that I had left over from the farmer's market. So that's in there as well. But if we walk down here, I've been putting in some nursery trees, and these go throughout the orchard, but right here's one of them. This is a seedling river locust, Amorpha fruticosa, or false indigo is what it's called. It does fix nitrogen. It's in the same family as black locust, Fabaceae, but it's not thorny. It doesn't produce a lot of suckers, and it produces some really nice flowers, and the pollinators adore it, and it grows fast. This is another way for me to get in a lot of cover as quickly as I can. You know, they're hopefully, if this year I just need them to leaf out and live. Next year though, I think they'll start to put on some growth, but you know, we're looking at 2 to 3 years and we should have more shade in here. And this is a tree that can, a small shrub that can be chopped and dropped in place to form mulch for the rest of the row. You can see that I've started cutting up, I had some big pear branches that fell down, and some saplings that I'm cutting back there, chopping them up and using them, just like I've done elsewhere in the orchard, where I'm adding brush to help kind of define the orchard rows and protect the trees from scratching. I have all those mulberry cuttings, or junk, that I've cut off as I'm slowly bringing down that mulberry tree, which you saw in the rooster run video. So all that has got to be distributed out here in the rows, and then I'll just keep piling dirt and hay and poop from the chickens, and dirt and hay and poop from the chickens. And it's the work of a few years, but eventually it'll be a really nice row of soil in here that continues to help feed everything. But so I'm putting in those river locust. There's another one. I'm putting in about the trees are spaced about every 15 feet. So well, that's an Elaine Pear, I think. No, that's a crabapple. That's a crabapple. And then there was the Ways Fuyu persimmon, an Asian persimmon variety, and then there's the Methley plum. So there's one river locust in between there. There's one river locust in between these two. I need to get another persimmon seedling from my supply and drop it in the ground there, because I do want to put another Ways persimmon there, but I don't want to buy a whole one. So I'll plant the seedling persimmon there, let it grow for a year or two, and then in 2024, 2025, I'll pick up some scion from somebody, graft it on there, and then I'll have my Ways Fuyu persimmon back. So that's like 3 years from now. I've been putting in more of the river locust. This tree made it. Is this my black twig? Yeah, this is my mammoth black twig. There you go. So, and I just, back at the beginning of March, I think March 8th, I dropped in some comfrey cuttings and crowns. So this is definitely well established. It's very happy. The leaves are perked up. So it's going to be great. I'd like to bring in some mint. Mint is the other thing that I'm adding around all of these. I thought I did mint here last night, but apparently I didn't. So I'll bring in some more mint. When I was mowing, I found these stakes, this one and that one, which were clearly a note that I'd left to myself saying, hey, there's a tree that you planted here in earlier iterations of this space that is alive. And so I found it, but I don't know what it is. It looks the most to me right now like either aronia or serviceberry. I do remember planting serviceberry out here. I don't remember planting aronia, so I'm gonna let it get a little bit bigger, and then I will dig it up and transplant it into one of these rows, depending on what I figure out it is. It'll probably go down this way. And then this one is definitely a hazelnut, and I definitely planted hazels over here. There's Japanese honeysuckle up here, but this is the hazel. I'll dig that up and put it in the row down here because I definitely planted hazels in here last year or the year before that did not do well because I wasn't really on my game as I am this year. This year's shaping up to be like our best year yet, which I guess is how it should go. They should get better every year, but I'm pretty excited about a lot of the stuff that's going on. When I talked about the cuttings from the wild elderberry patch, what I mean is, Rachel came up here. Sorry, I'm getting here. A friend of the farm, Rachel, came up here and worked with me back in January, and I just asked her to take, 8 to 10 inch cuttings off of the canes of those elders when they were dormant and just stick them in the ground. And so here's one. It's starting to leaf out, so it's done okay. So it should be forming roots over the course of the spring. There's another one, and there's a whole line of these. You can see there's one there. But I asked her to put them, every 3 to 4 feet, and they run all the way down to there. So this whole top row is wild elderberry, and I've just been propagating that patch. That's the same patch that I've been taking cuttings from and rooting in the other paddocks in the orchard as well. Even if the timing for when these ripen is off, these do ripen in late August, early September here on the farm. So they wouldn't really work out there where I planted them. I can still use them as a mulch plant, so I can let them build up a bunch of biomass, chop them, drop them, and use them to create shade and space for the chickens that are out there in that pasture or that paddock during their rotation, as well as I can get a harvest of plants. I can get mulch from it, so I can get a lot. It was readily available, really inexpensive plant material. so that's why I propagated so much of it. And here's the mulberry trimmings pile that I'm going to distribute out here. And also, I can't tell if you can tell, that rooster's not dead, by the way, he's sunbathing. Back before Christmas, we put in a big thick mound of hay up here, and it's been breaking down. It's really nice. And next week I have, or this week, I have asparagus crowns coming from Johnny's, and I plan to drop a row of asparagus in there because that'll be ready around May, late May. So they're appropriate up here. The chickens won't bother them. Based on what I've read, we'll have to see. But I'm going to put them up there, as well as a few in the garden. I've got like 100 crowns. I'd originally ordered 600 crowns, but that just wasn't going to work out based on my situation right now. So here is this the Plum or the Elaine Pear? This is another locally adapted pear I got from, this is Elaine, that I got from Century Farm Orchards. It's leafed out. It's doing fairly well. I was a little concerned when I really started looking in here that it was dead, but there is a very thin strip that has not been girdled by rodents, so that's all it needs. As it gets bigger, it'll close that in and do better. And I also dropped in some, it's either peppermint or excuse me, either some peppermint or spearmint and some comfrey. The mints tend to help deter rodents, so I'm just dropping mint everywhere. It's also great for pollinators, and I love the smell when it gets cut. Here's the pile of trees that didn't make it. So I lost an Enterprise apple, a Little Benny apple, and this one was Magnum Bonum, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, from Century Farms. But I did get Magnum Bonum Scion wood this year, so I have some apple rootstock, so I can regraft that one and drop it back in the row here. Little Benny and Enterprise are going to have to wait for another year for me to replace them. And honestly, they were planted before I had this whole vision, so they were a little kind of off kilter, like they were not aligned with the row and all that. So I'm not saying I'm glad they're dead, but it's not as big a tragedy as it could be. So I've just been knocking down all this stickweed that's out here. But you can see the elderberry patch is enormous. And down here, a bunch of suckers in form. I mean, this one's like an elderberry tree. I mean, I may leave this one and just kind of continue to train it as a tree, but all these suckers for the most part are coming out, and I'm taking them to the farmer's market. I'm getting 15 bucks a piece for them, which I think is very fair and great. I mean, they are well rooted, and I posted up on the farmer's market page to see if anybody was interested. I got like 50 replies of people saying yes, very interested. So hopefully I'll be able to move some of these and help pay some bills, which is always great. There's one more apple tree back here from Century Farm. Oh yeah, Ashmead's kernel. I cannot wait to actually eat that one. So that'll be exciting. So that's what's going on here in the May and September paddock. This was another one that didn't make it. This is fall pippin. I don't have scionwood for that, so I'll have to figure out how to replace that next year. But I could plant rootstock this year and just let it grow to graft over next year. I grafted a Gala apple at my workshop last Saturday. And Gala actually ripens in our area around mid-September, so it would be appropriate in here. So maybe I'll come back and I'll drop the Gala in here. So we'll see, but that's where we are. And I'm just gonna work out here a little bit more and then head home for lunch and get some make dough for next week's farmer's market. I usually make that on Sunday the week before. So lots to do, lots going on. If you follow us on Instagram, you saw that the top of that apple tree collapsed last week. So that's going to be fun to see how that goes. I've got to figure out how best to clean this up. I've got some interesting ideas based on interesting ideas of other people that I'm curious to try. So we'll see how that goes. And real quick, I just wanted to show, I thought about it. I walked right past them, but when I talk about dropping in these seedling persimmons and river locust, it's because I got all these from the, most of these I got from the Virginia State Nursery. They're about $1 a piece when you order more than 50. So I've just been keeping them hydrated. And they send you these nice bundles. I think I got 100 trees for 50 bucks. I think is how it goes. Now, you know, they're small, but they're gonna do just fine. So these are river locust, these are river locust. I got 10 black locust just because I wanted some, and then these are part of the 25 seedling persimmons that I got from the state nursery in Arkansas, which was the only place I could find this year. You can always tell persimmons because the roots are black, so if you ever lose your labels and get mixed up, that's an easy tell when you're working with persimmons. So okay, I'm gonna get back at it. Questions, concerns, helpful critique are always welcome. Whatever you're up to, I hope that you and those you care for are healthy, wealthy, and well. And I will talk to you all later. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.